I removed the OEM mud flaps from my TC after discovering that this edge here had scratched up the paint right here, and it's also left a little discoloration over time. So I don't want to leave it without a mud flap because I don't want rocks to get kicked up and chip the paint, so I'm going to replace it with these Rally Armor basic black ones. Now this is the basic plastic universal set that you can order from Rally Armor. You'll get a set of 4 of them, 2 for each side, and the Rally Armor logo will be gently embossed on here. In this case, it's going to be painted red. There's a few different variations that you can do, including getting a urethane one, but this is the low-end basic plastic. So it's going to be a 1/16 of an inch thick, and the measurements are going to be 11.5 inches across. From this high point here, it's going to be about 15 1/16 inch tall. From this point here, it's going to be 10 1/16 of an inch tall. And if I was to draw an imaginary line from this point here down and then measure to that line, it's going to be about 2 1/4 inches. You may not have these holes on here if you don't have OEM mud flaps, but if you want to drill holes and have them be in the actual OEM locations, I measured it, and from this corner, measured straight across to the middle here, it's 3 1/4 inches, and then from here to the next hole is 6.5 inches. Before you start doing any test fitting, make sure your car is on a level surface. If you don't have a level surface, you can use a jack to lift up the side of the car until it is level. I've taken some painter's tape to mark where the center of the hole is for the top and the bottom holes. Then taken the mud flap and I've held it where I want it to be. You might want some help here because while I was holding it here, I had to also hold the level to make sure that this was going to be straight, which is why you need to make sure the car is level. And then I've taken more tape, marked where the mud flap is going to sit to the edge of the car, and then marked where the holes are going to be on here. Now, as you can see, I'm not having it stick out very far because this is a street car. If you're doing like a rally car, then yes, go ahead, stick it out this far, but I think a street car, it should be more subtle. So now, when I take this down, I'm going to measure the distance from the center of the hole to the edge of the car here, and add that distance here. And then I'll use a center punch to mark where the hole is going to be, and then drill a hole here. I'm only going to start with the top one, remount it, make sure it's straight before I drill the bottom one. If you're not comfortable drilling directly into the plastic, make a cardboard template, put the holes on that, mount it, make sure it's correct, and then trace the holes onto the plastic itself. A quick tip I recommend is to drill a small hole first. Make sure it's lined up where it needs to be when you actually do another test fit again, and then enlarge the hole using a step-up drill bit. The reason for that is if you just use a normal drill, it's going to leave a really messy hole, but a step-up drill bit will make it nice and clean. I have the top hole screwed in, and now I'm going to make sure that it's still going to be level, and it is. Great. So now I'm going to go ahead and drill the hole here. Again, I'm going to start with a small hole, make sure it's centered correctly, make sure it's still level before I enlarge it using the step-up drill bit. So now it's nice and secure on this side, but the back side is going to be flimsy. We need to mount it on the back here. I've seen some people just put a screw through here, but I'm going to instead mount it right down here. And instead of using a screw, I'm going to use one of these body trim clips because I don't think the plastic back there is thick enough to really hold a screw over time, but this should do the trick because that's what these were designed for. While holding the mud flap against the trim, I drilled a hole through the back side, and then the drill bit made a marking on the mud flap itself. So I'm going to take the mud flap off, find that marking, and make a hole on that. Once I drill the hole out, I'll use my step-up drill bit to make it large enough for this clip to go through. Now for one last test fit, and then we'll start working on the other side. Before I clip this into place, I'm going to take this flap back off again, and I'm going to mirror just the 2 outer holes for the other side. Don't drill this hole yet, because you're going to be drilling it from the back side again. I confirmed that the holes on the flap line up on the other side, so now I've drilled out the holes here and here. Again, don't drill this hole out yet. Now I'm going to take my step-up drill bit and enlarge them, and then we'll screw this into place. The passenger side is nice and mounted and level, so now I'm going to do the same trick. Come in from the back side under here, drill a hole, and then enlarge it with my step-up drill bit so that I can use a body trim clip. Alright, that takes care of the back. So here's what it looks like on the other side with the trim clip coming through. So now to do the front. Step 1, level the car. Remove the clip and the bolt, mark the holes with tape, take your flap, line it up, mark it with tape, mark the holes, make sure it's level, just like you did on the back, and then drill just the top hole and mount that. With it mounted, check again, is it straight? Make sure the hole on the bottom is going to be in the spot you need it to be. Drill it small, make sure it's centered, then enlarge it, and then bolt it in, just like we did on the back. Up to this point was exactly the same way as doing the rear flaps, so now we have to do the third mounting point. Now we can't do it right here because it's too far in. It's actually going to cause the flap to warp and put some unnecessary stress on that clip. So we're going to put it up here instead. So I've already checked and turned the wheel both directions and made sure that I'm going to have clearance. Alright, so I've taken my center punch and I've made an indentation where I want to drill the hole here. So we'll take this off, drill the hole, and then we'll mark on the fender liner where to make the other hole for the clip to go into. Now that the hole's big enough for the clip, let's bolt this back into place and mark where to drill the hole in the fender liner. Again, I'm going to take my center punch and mark where I want to drill the hole in the fender liner this time. So I'm probably going to have to take the wheel off so that I can actually drill that hole out. Fortunately, I was able to drill the hole without removing the tire. I just put my hand behind here to pull the trim forward and then drilled the hole. There's only a little more than 3/4 of an inch clearance behind here, so make sure that whatever clip you use isn't too long. So I think that this will be able to fit in there without any problems. Perfect. This is just short enough that this fits, but I think I'm going to go ahead to the store and try to find the OEM style clip like this. This is shorter and I feel like it's going to be more secure, but this will work for now. Alright, so now I'm going to take this off and mirror the holes on the other side after confirming that this is still going to be straight when I flip it the other way around and mount it on that side. This hole I'm also going to go ahead and drill out, but I'm going to drill it small first, make sure that it's still centered where it needs to be, and then I'll enlarge it. The two outer holes are all lined up. It's all straight. I've only jacked up this side of the car so I have better clearance to get in here with the wheel turned outward. And I've already confirmed this hole was centered and I've enlarged it. And I've already made my mark on the fender liner with my center punch tool. So now let's take this off, drill that hole out, pop that clip in, and we'll be done. Now to go hit the store, see if I can find another trim clip that's like the OEM one, and then wash this car before showing you the final results. I found these Toyota Splash Shield rivets at my local auto store. If I can find something like this online, I'll put a link to it in the video description below, as well as the actual OEM Toyota one if I can find that. But this is going to work much better than what I have in there right now. The new Splash Shield clip feels more secure than the one that I originally used, so I'm glad I swapped it out. Now, if you decide that you want to mount yours sticking out more, you should be able to sit the flaps lower as well. I hope this helps you out if you're planning to install universal Rally Armor mud flaps on your TC. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for watching.